Looking to start a church, business, or nonprofit organization in 2021? Do you need help forming an LLC, applying for a copyright or trademark, revising church bylaws, crafting a succession plan, or developing a compensation package for your pastor and staff? Contact the law office of Travell Travis, a Richmond-based legal boutique focused on the needs of pastors, entrepreneurs, creatives, and our community. Let's make your vision a reality in 2021. Visit TravellTravis.com. That's TRAVELL Travis.com.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Facebook fan page and the YouTube channel of the Law Office of Travell Travis. Our law firm focuses on the needs of pastors, entrepreneurs, creatives, and the community. We invite you to connect with us on our website, TravellTravis.com. You can also reach us by telephone at area code 757-528-8529. You can also email us at travelltravis@gmail.com, as well as you can find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. Our videos are for educational and advertising purposes and is not a substitute for consulting a licensed attorney in your home state. And so we're going to invite you now to to invite, to share, to tag, let someone know that Legal Lesson 27 is on the air right now. And so the legal lesson for today is entitled, Should I Prepay My Traffic Ticket Online? Should I prepay my traffic ticket online? Just the other week, I had the opportunity to represent a young man who was going 93 and a 65. I advised him prepare perhaps to spend some time in jail because it was reckless driving, and at the high rate of speed, there are some judges and some jurisdictions that at that level of speed, a person may actually face jail time. And so I was fortunate by the grace of God, and no endorsement of our office in any ways, but he was able to get the maximum reduction and the minimum fine for his case, and was able to walk out of court, free man. And so the question I often get is, should I hire an attorney? Should I just simply pay for the fine online, or should I actually go to court myself, go to court with an attorney, or hire an attorney to represent me in my absence? And so during our career, we've been fortunate being in Richmond and Hampton, whether it's on Interstate 64, Interstate 85, Interstate 95, Highway 460, Highway 360, Highway 58, even Highway 13. We've been in a lot of courtrooms, a lot of judges, a lot of jurisdictions in Virginia, and understand that even with the same speed, identical driving record, depending on what judge you're in front of, what court you're in front of, what mitigating factors one might present, outcomes can vary from situation to situation. So we can always guarantee, what a judge, what a court is going to do in your unique circumstance or situation. When we're talking about should I prepay for my traffic ticket online, some offenses you can't prepay. Let's just make that clear. Some offenses are jailable in nature. They're not just traffic citations. They're actually criminal in nature, misdemeanors, where there's a possibility of not only a fine, suspended license, but also the possibility of incarceration. And so if there's a possibility of incarceration, you personally have to show up unless perhaps the ticket indicates that jail is waived. So whether it's a DUI, if it's a situation of fleeing the scene of an accident, driving on a suspended license, reckless driving, especially at a high level of speed where jail is not waived, you have no choice but to appear in court yourself, because failure to appear can also lead to further legal action. You can have a capias for your arrest or for failure to appear, which now you got to deal with the warrant for your arrest on top of the underlying traffic offense that you're dealing with. Understand if the individual is actually convicted, of a traffic offense, not only can a person have points added to their driving record, there's fines, especially reckless driving in Virginia, goes all the way up to $2,500. There's the court costs, whether you're prepay online or appear in court. A person can have their driver's license suspended for a period of time, or maybe in some cases restricted. Insurance premiums may go up. A person may even have their insurance to completely drop them because of the severity of the offense or one's driving record. And it also can affect one's employment opportunities, as well as employment retention, especially if driving is a part of the job, whether it's a company vehicle, personal vehicle, not just a delivery person or like FedEx or UPS or US Postal Service, but if you drive from client to client, engagement to engagement, one school to the next, and perhaps, you're get a ticket or an accident while commuting, while on the clock for the job, that can also cause problems with the employer. And so you want to try to keep a clean record, as clean as possible. Even if you're out of state, and you say, well, this doesn't matter to me because he's in Virginia, I'm out of state. But understand, many people pass through Virginia. As I mentioned, 64, 85, 95, 81, 66, 360, 460, 58, Highway 13. And so understand that even though you might only have a one-time passing through contact, but for especially those that may be in school or in the military where you're in Virginia for extended period of time, recognize that one can also develop a driving record in Virginia, which could lead to suspensions and license and fines and incarcerations. But also you have to be aware that many states have reciprocity, which means that the offense can transfer to your home state. The points may actually transfer to the home state, as well as any other penalties. I've had individuals in Virginia who had a Texas driver's license, convicted of DUI, didn't go to jail, but had their driver's license suspended, as a consequence of the DUI here, and it transferred to Texas. So you always have to be aware that even if you're not from that state, just passing through, and you get a ticket and you simply prepay, what are the consequences, or what is the likelihood that either the points or the offense will actually transfer to my record? Will my insurance know about it? Will my employer know about it? And then what further repercussions, will I have to face? Understand the best defense to traffic court, number one, is be cooperative. The worst thing can happen is if a police officer says you're non-cooperative. You might have some questions, you can inquire, but if they say they were non-cooperative, that automatically puts you in a bad light in front of most judges in the Commonwealth. So try to be polite, try to be cooperative, try to get through the situation. But understand that the second to that, being your best defense, I tell anybody anytime, your best defense is to keep a clean record clean. The best thing you want to be able to say when you go into court is, Your Honor, I have a clean record. Your Honor, I don't have any traffic tickets on my record. Now, that doesn't mean you've never been pulled. Doesn't mean officer never gave you a ticket. But to be able to show your driving transcript that says, hey, I have a clean driving record. There's nothing here, or there's nothing here within the last 5 years or 10 years. Because what you're trying to show is this was an anomaly. This was an exception. This was a deviation. I'm not a constant speeder, reckless driver. This was just a rare occasion, bad day. It's not really who I am. It's hard to make that argument if you got tickets left and right, over a period of time, to say, oh, I'm a good person. I just had a bad day with, you had pages, of traffic offenses on your record. So it's always good to try to keep a clean record clean, if at all possible. Understand, if you prepay, which goes back to our question today, should I prepay my traffic offense online? If I prepay, then I am guilty as charged. If I prepay online, I am guilty as charged. Whatever they charge me with, whatever the mandatory fine is, it is what it is. You are guilty as charged with the fine, and depending on where you're from, also that going on your driving record, the points as well as the offense. And so my question then becomes, Why prepay? It's either better to hire an attorney or to go in your place or to go yourself unless it's a major inconvenience or cost prohibitive. Once again, you're out of town, you're out of state, you're on vacation. Like, am I really going to fly back, drive back for a day in court? Am I going to hire an attorney? I don't really have the money, to hire an attorney. So it's just better off, I'm guilty, just go ahead and prepay it. I was actually in court the other day and someone flew back from Florida. They were in town for vacation. They got a ticket, but it was so severe, they flew back from Florida because one, they had to, but also two, they knew that in order to have any possibility of leniency, they had to be present in court. So when talking about should I prepay, you're guilty as charged. But if I come in person or I come with an attorney or I hire an attorney to represent me, then it's a possibility of a break, some type of leniency, some type of reduction. Now, another factor that you might want to take in consideration is if the officer already gave you a break, then you might not want to push it. Meaning you were reckless driving and the officer wrote the ticket for non-reckless and said, hey, I'm doing this so you don't have to appear in court, so you don't get the maximum. Basically, the officer gave you mercy and leniency already. Now, it doesn't mean you still can't come to court and push for more, but at the same time, you might say, you know what, I already got a break. I'm not going to push it for another break, considering, the distance travel, the inconvenience, or the cost of hiring an attorney. If you go to court, though, a matter can be dismissed if correct, especially if you're talking about a brake light, expired registration. If you present to the judge that I've corrected the thing that was an issue, even instances where driver's license have been suspended or a person didn't have the driver's license on them, you come to court, say, Your Honor, it's been fixed. A lot of times those matters can be dismissed. But also in terms of having a chance of your legal matter being reduced or dismissed, the best opportunity is to appear in court. If you go to court without an attorney, which many people do all the time, it's recommended that you plead either not guilty or no contest. Now, you may know you were speeding. You were going at a high rate of speed and your conscience is, well, I can't lie. Understand, pleading not guilty is more of a technical term than actually saying I didn't do it. It's more or less, it puts the burden on the court, which will be the police officer, to prove your guilt beyond reasonable doubt. It also gives you an opportunity to present testimony or evidence as to why maybe you were charged with the wrong thing or why you're such a great person and the charge should be reduced or dismissed. If you plead guilty, and I've seen judges who are very technical on this, if you plead guilty, the judge doesn't have to hear anything you have to say in defense or as a mitigating factor. Now, I've heard some judges where a person says, how do you plead? You plead guilty, and the judge still say, well, is there anything you like to say? But I've also been in courts where a person plead guilty and the judge says, all right, such, fine, next case. So if you want to say something, I'm a good person, I'm a great driver, I was on the way to the hospital, whatever the case may be, make sure that you say no contest or not guilty, and then leave it up to the court to make the final determination. What is the worst scenario if I come to court? The worst scenario is typically I just get what I would have gotten if I prepaid online. And so now, once again, you're upset because I took a day off work, I stayed in a hotel, I traveled, I hired an attorney, and I didn't get anything better than what I would have gotten if I just clicked online and prepaid. However, most judges, or many judges, if you show up either yourself with the proper documents or with an attorney, it is a strong chance, very strong chance that you can get your ticket reduced and perhaps even dismissed. What are you going to tell the judge? If you come to court, you can tell the judge about your clean driving record. Now, once again, if you don't have a clean driving record, that could be problematic. But if you have a fairly clean driving record, and I'm not saying perfect, Some judges say within the last 5 years. Some will say within the last 10 years. Some say, have you ever had a reckless? But maybe you had some of the lower level offenses. But you can present your driving record if you go to court. You can also take driver improvement class in advance and bring the certificate, print out a certificate from a Virginia approved driver improvement class. Say, Your Honor, I've taken proactive steps, and so therefore I want to present this driver improvement course certificate. For a high level of speed, you might also want to get your vehicle calibrated. Older model cars at high levels of speed sometimes have inaccurate speedometers. And so it becomes very important that perhaps if you're teetering on reckless or speeding or at one of those high levels where jail might be a possibility, if you say, hey, my car only showed 88, but I came up on the radar as 92, 93, while it may not seem like a lot, sometimes that can also be in consideration in terms of whether you go to jail or not, or whether a traffic matter is reduced for you. Also, career and family obligations. I've had entrepreneurs to say, hey, I drive for my job. This could cause me to lose my job or have me suspended from my job. And sometimes the judge would take that into consideration. If there's family obligations, I have a special need child, I have an elderly parent, I have doctor's appointments, I was on my way to the hospital. So those things can also be presented as testimony. Even, for many of my students, I'm a student, they tell their major, they tell their year, they tell their future career plans, they ask for mercy of the court. And judges often are sympathetic, to someone who comes to court, presents themselves well, and asks for leniency. What are some of the things that a judge can offer? If a judge wants to reduce or dismiss, one, as stated, they can amend the charge, go from reckless to a lower level of speeding. Virginia, there's 3 levels of speeding. They can reduce the charge, which means less points and perhaps even a lower fine. In that, there's sometimes wiggle room for the fine. Do I give you the maximum fine for your rate of speed, or do I give you a minimum fine for your rate of speed? Some judges offer community service instead of a fine. So I can't pay the fine, but arguably you can work the fine off through community service. Some judges will say if you take driver improvement, or if you've had driver improvement, or I give you probation, this ticket will be dismissed. I remember early, I had one young lady, she was doing 88 and a 65, and the judge gave her 88 hours of community service to get the ticket dismissed. And so she did her community service. She was a student. She was active in the community, on-campus organizations. She did her 88 hours, and the judge, completely dismissed the reckless driving ticket in its entirety. Even if it's a more serious offense and you're dealing with perhaps a suspended license, go to court. You can negotiate maybe a restricted license that allows you to go to work. It allows you to go to church. It allows you to go to school, allows you to go to the doctor. So even though technically your license is suspended, for many people, if they can still get to work, get to church, get to school, get to the doctor, they can almost work with the other scenarios in which they might want to drive. And even if jail is a possibility, sometimes an attorney can even help negotiate weekends so a person can keep their job and work during the Monday through Friday, and then report to jail on the weekends so they can retain their employment. What are some of the benefits of hiring an attorney? Good to see you, Brother Barnes. Yes, nolo contendere, no contest, essentially the same thing. Nolo contendere is the more Latin, and then no contest is just the English translation definition of it. What does an attorney do? Sometimes my job is simply to hold a person's hand and walk them through their testimony. You're nervous, you're scared, you've never been in court, and sometimes just having that person stand beside you gives a certain level of calm, allows a person to kind of speak a little bit more clearly, help walk through their testimony. A person could, say, this is who I am, this is my driving record, this is my driving improvement course, and get real nervous, get tangled up. Whereas an attorney could say, all right, what is your name? Where are you from? Tell us about your driving record. Tell us about what was going on that day in question. And even just to say, this is a great person, give them mercy. Sometimes it's easier for someone to advocate for you, arguably, than to advocate for yourself. Sometimes an attorney also, their work is done before trial. Oftentimes I go in the corner or in the back room and I can talk to the officer. Tell me what happened. Is there a video? What did you write down? What are you going to say? So we know in advance how to handle the situation, because most of the times just a layperson is not going to be able to approach the officer. If they call the officer, they're not going to call back. You call the commonwealth attorney, they're not going to respond. But in being able to be an attorney and you talk to the officer, talk to the commonwealth attorney, sometimes you can find out, what is the evidence, find out kind of what are they getting ready to say. Are they willing to kind of work with you, or are they going to throw you under the bus, and you know how to address those things in advance. Also, the benefit of attorney is they often know the practices not only of a particular court, but of a particular judge. You can be in the same courthouse, and depending on what judge you get, sometimes may impact the outcome of your case. And so if an attorney is from that area, they generally know, well, this judge, no fines, no points, traffic school. Some love traffic school, some hate traffic school. Some, will reduce it if your record is clean or no tickets within a certain amount of time. They can even help you prepare your case and say, hey, you want to take traffic school in advance and bring it to court, get the vehicle calibration. I think that'll help you, bring your resume. Students, bring your academic transcript, bring your driving record, and not just, your driving record in Virginia, but driving record from your home state. Some judges, you must bring your driving record from your home state, while others, as long as you don't have a driving record in the state that you're charged, you're fine, as well as any medical or special exigent circumstances. You can present that evidence. And so once again, come into court with that package, kind of knowing what you're going to say, dressed, in a presentable manner. All those things can go a long ways towards having your ticket dismissed or reduced or dismissed. So in conclusion, when you have the option to prepay or go in person, unless you have major inconvenience or it's cost prohibitive, you're likely better off showing up either in person yourself, perhaps with an attorney, or with an attorney in your absence if it's not a jailable offense, to get the charge reduced or dismissed. Prepaying online is guilty as charged, meaning the charge, the fines, and the points will transfer to your record, and if even out of state, depending on the reciprocity with the two states, it also may do the same. So once again, we want to thank you for viewing Legal Lesson 27, Should I Prepay My Traffic Ticket Online, sponsored by the Law Office of Travell Travis. Once again, our videos are for educational and advertising purposes and does not substitute for consulting a licensed attorney in your home state. We invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as visit our Facebook fan page. We invite you to like, invite, share, tag. If you know somebody that has a traffic ticket or has a horrible driving record, especially if they're passing through Virginia and they need a legal consultation or they need some legal advice to assist, we're more than glad to help you. Contact information is below, travelltravis.com. You can also reach us by telephone, 757-528-8529, by email, travelltravis@gmail.com, as well as you can find us on social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, as well as YouTube. May God bless you. Safe driving to you. Thank you for joining us again. God bless. Heaven's smile upon you is our prayer.